Backtracking how living systems eventually thrive, it is important to look at the elements that make them. In the flowchart, we can see that the DNA molecule that codes for the genes that an individual organism may possess for specific functions gets embedded into an organelle. Organelles in a cell perform numerous specialized functions that contribute to the overall purpose of the cell and the tissues. From here, we can see the interconnectedness, that even the most minor change in the DNA can lead to mutations that interfere with the activities of the cell and possibly heighten the likelihood for uncontrolled cell growth. If we consider that the organism has healthy organization levels, then the fish will have prime for survival underwater and a body composition for homeostatic abilities. In an ecosystem, there are multiple copies of the same species. It is not guaranteed that all of them do not present with abnormalities. There are also other species that exist, including anemones, phytoplankton, starfishes, sponges, jellyfishes, and others that need a different mechanism of growth and development than that of the clownfish. A clownfish might get usurped by a larger fish. A jellyfish may remain untouchable due to some of its sting. One thing we should comprehend about living systems is that the structure always determines the function. With a biological diversity in a marine ecosystem, it becomes the largest carbon sink, helping the biosphere and its benefiting species by producing more than 50% of the world's oxygen supply. It is interesting that all living systems work differently, but are vital to the Earth and its people regardless. What we enjoy, we owe to each other. To answer the guiding questions, the flowchart I created presents an ecosystem, which we know to be the interaction between living organisms and its abiotic environment. We see living and non-living elements like the aquatic species and the ocean, respectively. Nevertheless, if we must classify between the two, the answer should be living. This is a living system as far as the cycle continues. The parts are as identified previously. The land surface and the waters that fill the void are non-living, but the compositions of the reef are mostly living organisms born from a single molecule. These parts are interconnected, which means the lack of a single entity may lead to great disruptions in the marine ecosystem. If the sea is bottomless without a lithosphere, it is impossible to maintain life at the deepest areas. If there are no fishes for larger fishes to feed on, the food chain halts and may lead to endangerment or worse, extinction. If the fishes did not have a stomach, survival would not ensure. That is the beauty of life. Everything is interwoven. When one aspect is absent, we can predict changes or observe them easily through statistical analysis. This behavior persists over time and has, in fact, for as long as we know today. Even in the presence of natural disasters like tsunamis, the ocean remains the biggest carbon sink. Marine life thrives stably despite some extinctions reported. Climate change has greatly increased ocean levels due to melting ice, but this did not do much. The living system remains living.